Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of the Daily Friend Wrap. I'm your host, Nicholas Lorimer, today joined by Marius Roodt. First, we've got a message from a sponsor today. This is Hudaco Energy. Hudaco Energy says, are you tired of skyrocketing electricity bills and the new phenomenon of load reduction? Meet Hudaco Energy, South Africa's trusted Tier 1 premium solar and backup power solution supplier. With over 100 years of trading experience and the backing of a publicly listed company, Hudaco Energy brings you the best quality international products to power your home or business reliably. From 3 kilowatt single-phase systems to 250 kilowatt three-phase solutions, we've got options for every need. And here's the best part: we offer unbeatable financing and rent-to-own packages designed to lower the barriers to saving money, cutting electricity costs, and ensuring power stability regardless of what's happening at Eskom. Right now, we're thrilled to offer Daily Friend listeners an exclusive promotion. Book a free or business household audit, and we'll show you how to put money back in your pocket without hefty upfront costs. Reach out to us at sales@hudacoenergy.co.za. Hudaco Energy, one word, Hudaco Energy, or call us at 011 447 9864. Hudaco Energy, sustainable power and storage solutions provider, and a link to that will be in the description of this video on YouTube and in the show notes on the podcast apps. Right, let's get into the first news story of today, and this is about ActionSA, which has announced the greatest merger in South African politics in many decades. Well, maybe not. ActionSA has announced that it is merging with a party called Forum for Service Delivery, who claims to have, I believe, 39 councillors around the country in different municipalities. I think they have one or two scattered in a number of municipalities around the country, including, for example, in Limpopo, in Northwest Province, in the Limpopo municipality. This was teased on social media a while ago with ActionSA saying that they were expanding the great umbrella of ActionSA as a political party. And they said today that Forum for Service Delivery will be joining them as forming a single organization together with them. Will be under the ActionSA banner and under the leadership of Herman Mashaba. ActionSA National Chairperson Michael Beaumont said the union will strengthen both parties' presence in preparation for the 2026 local government elections. Beaumont said as far back as September, ActionSA was engaged by Forum for Service Delivery after we had departed from the multi-party charter to talk about how we could come together. And I think that gives you a sense of how long these engagements have been going on and how much consideration was taken. So if you're ActionSA and you don't have a big municipal footprint outside of Gauteng, they do have councillors in other parts of the country, but that's, they're very much kind of Gauteng focused. It does seem like a useful addition to your repertoire, but not quite ground earth-shaking news in terms of political realignment.
Yeah, it's. I don't think it's really one of the biggest news stories in South African politics. Forum for Service Delivery, they did do pretty well actually in the 2016 local government elections, better than they've done subsequently. And a lot of the members of or councillors for Forum for Service Delivery a lot of them were former ANC councillors who left the party for whatever reason. I don't think this is going to make much of a difference. Just looking at the election results from 2024, Forum for Service Delivery won 11,000 votes, and you needed about 30,000 votes to get one seat in Parliament in the last year's May election. So they're pretty far off the pace. But yeah, as you say, it's maybe it's a way for ActionSA to get a footprint, not a footprint, to get a foothold in Northwest. I think in the last year's election, they didn't do too badly in Northwest. I think ActionSA won a seat or two in the provincial legislature. So, maybe Forum for Service Delivery does have some branches and so on that ActionSA can kind of use to try get some more traction there. But overall, I think this is a bit of a damp squib. And but maybe we do need some more of this kind of realignment of our politics. We probably do have too many parties, but I think part of
that consolidation of the smaller parties is definitely actually a good thing. There's so many parties that have just a couple council seats here or there, or they've got one parliamentary seat, or they got almost a parliamentary seat, and I do think it's probably healthy for the system overall for those parties to merge together as long as they're aligned.
But yeah, I mean that's also we've spoken about it before. I think things such as thresholds where a party has to get a certain amount of support to get represented in a council or a parliament or whatever the case is. So maybe that's what South Africa should look at long term. But yeah, overall, I don't really think this is one of the big mergers. I mean, as we were saying before the show, I don't really think it's up there with United Party forming in the early 1930s or the DA getting formed in early 2000s or whatever the case is. I think this is just kind of a mopping up effort by ActionSA. It would have been more impressive was the announcement of them going to work together with, Razum Zanzi or Bosa or something like that. But yeah, that's probably also unlikely. I think there's a lot of differences between those parties. But yeah, if you're just mopping up these extra parliamentary parties, I don't know how much it's really going to make a difference.
Mm-hmm. Still, like I said, probably a good thing. And I must say, when I saw the announcement on social media, I did wonder whether it was one of those other, I guess you could call them the bigger of the small parties, Bosa, Razum Zanzi, who do at least have a toehold in Parliament. But yes, nothing as exciting as that. And Marius, you saw a tweet about another sort of strange, but I guess believable political development, which is that former Springbok coach Peter de Villiers has joined MK.
Yeah, so I just saw a tweet now. It hasn't been reported yet. It's tweeted by somebody called Sihle Mavuso, who's a journalist. So Peter de Villiers has apparently joined the MK party, which is quite something. He'd been in the Good Party for a while, but was kicked out on sexual harassment charges. I mean, I shouldn't laugh. Sexual harassment is not something to laugh about. But yeah, he's had quite a career, Peter de Villiers. I think he wasn't a completely terrible Springbok coach. I mean, he beat the All Blacks and he beat the British and Irish Lions. He beat the All Blacks in New Zealand as well. Then he got fired after the 2011 World Cup, and then his career really went nowhere. He coached Zimbabwe for a while, and then he tried his hand at going into politics, which seems to have gone as well as his later coaching career. I mean, but it tells you something about MK that they accepting basically anybody into the party. I think if Jeffrey Dahmer came to life and said he wants to join the MK party, Jacob Zuma would have been happy with that.
Yeah, no, it's actually getting comical right now to the point where it almost seems like unless you've been accused of some sort of serious impropriety, MK won't accept you in. But I guess
it's like the joke about it's like the joke about the Australian immigration. If you get your MK membership form, any criminal record, and you say no, and they don't let you in.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, it's. I guess it makes sense for a party that has explicitly declared its opposition to the legal system as basically a principle, which is something Jacob Zuma has said that what he calls the Western foreign legal system, the Roman Dutch law system, needs to be dismantled. So, yeah, who knows?
It's a pity he's never been president of the country where he actually had power and he could do that kind of thing. But anyway.
Well, just as well he couldn't, and thank goodness for that. Let us go on now to what is a happy story. We don't get to talk about happy stories that often, but this is from Hanyani Secondary School, which is in a small village outside Toyonduyo in Limpopo, which was one of the worst performing schools in the country, but has seen some improvement, particularly in this year's matric results. According to the school's principal, the school has around 500 learners. Last year, 2023, the school was achieving around a 57% pass rate, which is not the worst, but it's not great either. And they ended up collaborating with the University of Johannesburg, UJ, and the South African Jewish Board of Deputies to launch a learning center in 2023. This learning center was equipped with computers, books, and updated learning materials to engage learners and teachers. It had a satellite for uninterrupted internet access and solar-powered lights, and it was spearheaded by UJ's Faculty of Engineering and Built Environment. And it appears to have had quite a lot of success. This year, the school achieved a 92.1% pass rate, which is a vast improvement from the 57% before. Even more impressive, as if you listened to the show yesterday, you'll know that I'm not a huge devotee of the pass rate as being a great indicator of success, but this is a better indicator. The school achieved 100% pass rate in all the students who took physical science and an 84.6% pass rate in maths, which the school never dreamed that it could achieve. The principal said, "We performed very well, and I can't recall the school achieving more than this in its history. As the head of the school, I'm excited like never before." He talked about some of the problems. This is a very poor area. He said, "You find learners remaining at home without parents and no food. Some of them are just dropping out to go to work at farms because of the distance. We have learners who are walking around 6 kilometers daily. Because of the distance, most of them end up dropping out of the school. The school serves a cluster of villages stretching over a radius of about 15 kilometers, and there isn't any transport, it seems, to the school." But I think, Marius, this shows what can be done, even in places that are very poor and where, just social conditions are bad, people don't have food, all these other problems. But the right investment, with people making the right choices, and with teachers and principals putting in the hard work, you can really see a turnaround in the results.
Yeah, I think with anything, if people get opportunities and have the infrastructure, they'll in general be able to do well. But schools shouldn't have to rely on organizations like the Jewish Board of Deputies or the University of Johannesburg or whatever. I mean, the government needs to come in and make sure that schools have the right infrastructure, that they do have solar panels, so they don't have to worry about electricity. That there obviously need to be more schools in that area. Like you were saying now, that school serves a radius or area of 15 k's radius. I mean, and if your parents don't have a vehicle or whatever, I mean, and you stay 10 k's from the school, what time do you have to get up in the morning to get to school on time? And you're going to be tired and hungry by the time you get to school. And this all comes down to also the economy of the country. Obviously, this is an extremely poor part of South Africa. There's probably very high unemployment. So people need this kind of help that they're getting from the private sector and whatever. And obviously, it's good to help people, but the government needs to also do something about it. And what it comes down to is economic growth. If South Africa is stuck in this, basically 0% economic growth every year, people are going to be carrying on being stuck in these situations. We need to get economic growth of 5 or 6%, where people can get jobs and there can be infrastructure put into places like these schools. And obviously, you shouldn't your success shouldn't rely on the luck of the draw, whether you can go to a school like this in Limpopo, which is fairly well resourced. I'm sure there's many other schools around there which haven't been lucky enough to get people to assist them, and they're stuck having these terrible pass rates and so on. And it's all quite complex. And I mean, obviously, you don't want to bash anybody that's helping others, and we should obviously encourage it a bit more. But you feel like it's also a bit of a drop in the ocean, which is a bit depressing.
Yeah, I do think there is something to be said for another fact of economic growth, is that as society as a whole gets richer and there's actually just more resources around, you'll also find that charity initiatives and sort of good work initiatives like this one are more common because just more people have money to spend on it. So it's not just that it would improve from the sort of parents and social side of kids being able to afford to have better schools and government having more taxes to spend on schools. There would also be more money to give to charities to upgrade schools and that kind of thing. So that's why economic growth is so key to so many of the problems in the country, is that it really does improve almost every aspect of your society, and just allows more space for people to have better lives and live out their full potential. Okay. Very briefly, there was a deadly shooting yesterday in Yanga at the taxi rank, and according to, I think this was News 24, there was a intelligence report on the potential for this to happen was leaked to the media. That was drawn up by the City of Cape Town Safety and Security Information Management Services, that said that ahead of time, officials in the City of Cape Town were warned that there might be some kind of shooting. The report warned of hitmen arriving from the Eastern Cape to target taxi bosses in Cape Town, and that according to this report, which its authenticity has apparently been confirmed by JP Smith in the Cape Town government, that this appears to be due to infighting within the Cape Amalgamated Taxi Association. This information was shared with the police, who did deploy resources to the taxi rank, and they say they prevented it from becoming a much more deadly affair because they had resources around, even though they were not able to prevent it happening at all. The police did confiscate 13 rifles, 7 handguns, and detained 19 private security guards for questioning after the shooting. And this all seems to be confirmed as stemming from rivalry within the taxi association. But quite grim stuff. And I guess, Marius, this really shows the importance of crime intelligence, which is that it allows you to, determine when these kind of things are going to happen. We've actually seen quite a few kind of quite mysterious. I'm thinking of one last year in the Eastern Cape, sort of mass shootings around the country. And often they do seem to have some linked somewhere to organized crime. And, if you don't have the crime intelligence, which unfortunately many police organizations in South Africa do not have, you can't really deal with this. What do you make of the story?
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. We know that the capacity of the police has been degraded, especially since about 2010, and that's also reflected in things like the murder rate, which has also been on the increase since about 2010. And yeah, there's all kinds of knock-on effects. And as you say, without crime intelligence, you can't just be reactive when it comes to crime. You're also going to be proactive and be able to prevent these things. And I think it also comes down to, people always knock the taxi industry, but I think it is an important industry, and it's something that grew organically in South Africa, and it's obviously very important, gets people to where they need to be and so on. But it also often seems to be a law unto itself. And, there needs to be ways of these conflicts being able to be managed without people getting shot and killed and murdered and whatever.
Right.
There has to be some kind of policing over the taxi industry. I'm not saying we need to get rid of taxis, and as I say, they fulfill a role in South Africa that public transport.
There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with the business. They just need to be de-gangsterized.
Exactly. They don't even necessarily have to be formalized or whatever, but yeah, de-gangsterized. I think that's, or decriminalized, or whatever the case. I think de-gangsterized is probably the right word. So yeah, and I think that also comes down to all kinds of things in South Africa. There's a lot of things in South Africa. There are laws against it and regulations against it, but these things aren't enforced, and then that has all kinds of other knock-on effects. So yeah, it's just it's about the rule of law basically, and which I think we have quite a lack of in South Africa at the moment.
Yes, no, definitely. And without the rule of law, kind of everything else upstream just sort of falls apart from it. It's the other great threat to South Africa, apart from unemployment, I would say, is the lack of rule of law and safety and security. Anyway, we hope that you enjoyed this. If you did, please do like the video and do subscribe to our channel. We'd really appreciate that. Hope you all have a wonderful day. See you tomorrow. That's a wrap.
The Daily Friend Show and The Daily Friend are a project of the Institute of Race Relations, the IRR. The IRR is a think tank which was founded in 1929 to study race relations in South Africa and works to change government policy to improve race relations through non-racialism and to ensure the prosperity of all South Africans. If you like our work and would like to support us, please go to irr.org.za and click Support the IRR. Or you can go to thedailyfriend.co.za and click the Fund Us button.